Most bedroom clutter isn't created because we're messy. It's created because we keep making tiny emotional decisions that feel harmless. A drawer we stopped opening. A shelf we stopped noticing. A closet we learned to close without really looking inside. By the end of this video, I think you'll recognize at least one thing you've been holding on to for years without even realizing why. And don't be surprised if the hardest thing to let go of isn't the one you expected. We're going through 12 things today, and we're doing it in a specific order. Easiest first, hardest last, because that's actually how it works in real life, not the other way around. Your bedroom is supposed to be the one room in the house that's just for you. No guests walking through it, no company to keep up appearances for. But that also means it's the room where things quietly pile up the longest, because nobody else ever sees it happen. Let's start with the pieces that matter most, the ones that aren't really about clutter at all. They're about safety. Open the drawer of your nightstand right now, in your mind if you're not near it, and picture what's actually in there. For a lot of us, it's not one thing, it's layers. Reading glasses from 3 prescriptions ago, sitting under the ones you actually wear, a remote control for a television you sold 2 years back. Maybe an old inhaler that's long expired, or a little pack of hearing aid batteries for a device you don't even use anymore. And somewhere in that pile, medication that expired longer ago than you'd like to admit. Expired medication may lose its effectiveness, and some medications can become less safe or reliable over time. It's worth checking expiration dates and disposing of medicines that are no longer recommended for use. If you haven't gone through that drawer in a while, it's worth 10 minutes this week, not to be strict with yourself, just to know what's actually reachable when you need it in the middle of the night. Speaking of the middle of the night, let's talk about the rug by your bed. We don't usually think of a bedroom rug as clutter, and in a way, it isn't. But if it's the kind that slides, or the edges have started to curl, it's not just decoration anymore. It's a hazard waiting for the one time you get up too fast. This isn't about scaring you, it's about being honest. Falls are one of the most common reasons people our age end up in the hospital, and so often it's something small like this that starts it. If your rug moves under your foot when you press down on it, either it needs a proper grip pad underneath, or it's time to let it go. Now, shoes. Every decluttering list on the internet tells you to get rid of shoes you don't wear. But here's what they don't say, and what I think actually applies to us. A lot of us are holding on to certain shoes, not because we love them, but because we're waiting for our feet to go back to normal. Maybe there was swelling, or a foot surgery, or just years changing the shape of things a little. Sometimes it's a specific pair, bought for an occasion that mattered, a wedding, a trip you were planning, an event you were looking forward to, and life shifted before you ever got to wear them the way you imagined. And so those shoes sit in the closet, still in decent shape, waiting for a version of your feet, or a version of that day, that might not come back. There's no shame in that hope, but if it's been more than a year, it might be time to let those shoes go to someone whose feet they'll actually fit today, and make room for what actually works for you now. Last one in this first group, the drawer or the box of cords. Chargers for phones you don't own anymore, a cable for a device you can't even identify at this point. These don't carry any emotional weight. They're just quietly taking up space and making the real cords, the ones you use every day, harder to find. You probably won't get to all of it in one sitting, and that's fine. Even clearing half that drawer makes the ones you actually use easier to find. That's 4 things behind us. If these first 4 already made you look at your bedroom differently, you're exactly who this channel is for. We have these conversations every week because decluttering isn't really about things. It's about making life a little lighter. Now let's get into the harder ones. This is usually where people either speed up or slow down, depending on how close it hits. Take your time here if you need to. This next group is different. These aren't about safety, they're about the things we're keeping for a future that quietly stopped being likely. And I want to be really clear before we go further. None of this is about failure. It's about being honest with where your life actually is right now, instead of where it was or where you once pictured it going. Start with the clothes. Somewhere in your closet, there's probably a section, maybe even most of it, that was bought for a different version of you, a job you no longer have. So the blouses and slacks for the office sit there unused, and for some of you, that might be a suit or a blazer that hasn't left the hanger since the day you retired. Still pressed, still waiting for a Monday that isn't coming back. A body a certain number of pounds different, so those jeans wait for a day that isn't coming, and honestly doesn't need to come for you to be enough. A season of life, maybe raising a family, or traveling for work, or a career that shaped everything that simply isn't your life anymore. None of that is a loss, it's just change. But the clothes don't know that, and they'll keep waiting in that closet forever unless you make the decision for them. Next, and this one stings a little for almost everyone, the gift you never actually liked. Someone who loves you gave it to you, maybe a sweater in a color you'd never choose, maybe a decorative object that isn't really your taste. And it sat in a drawer or on a shelf for years, not because you want it, but because getting rid of it feels like rejecting the person who gave it to you. Here's the truth, though. Keeping a gift you don't like doesn't honor the person who gave it. What honors them is the memory of the moment they gave it to you. And you get to keep that memory forever, whether or not the object stays in your bedroom. Then there's the linens, the good sheets, the nice towel set, the bedding you're saving for company, or for a special occasion, or for some undefined future day when things will feel important enough to deserve them. Can I ask you something? What day is that? Most of us are saving our nicest things for a moment that never quite arrives, while the everyday version of our life, the one we're actually living right now, gets the worn-out sheets and the towels that have seen better days. You deserve the good ones tonight, not someday. And last in this group, the hobby equipment or gadget bought for a retirement that didn't turn out the way you pictured. Maybe it's a treadmill that became a place to hang clothes. Maybe it's art supplies for a hobby you meant to pick back up. Maybe it's an instrument you were going to finally learn. This one is tender because it's not really about the object, it's about the version of retirement we imagined for ourselves and the quiet grief of realizing life took a different shape. That's allowed. Some hobbies fit the life we actually have, and some were beautiful ideas that just didn't stick. And letting go of the equipment doesn't mean letting go of who you are. We're past the halfway point now, and this next part is the one I really want you to sit with. Before we get into it, I want to ask you something, and I'd genuinely like you to answer in the comments. Out of everything so far, which one are you already telling yourself you're keeping, no matter what? Not because you're wrong to keep it, I just want to know your reason. Because I promise you, someone else reading the comments needs to hear it too. Now, the legacy cluster. These last four aren't difficult because they're valuable. They're difficult because they're connected to love, hope, and memory. The first one is the hardest, so let's just say it plainly. Something you're keeping under the assumption that someone else will want it someday. For some of us, that's children, but not all of us have that. And even if you do, that's not the only version of this. Maybe it's a niece or nephew, a close friend, someone from your church or your community, or simply whoever ends up going through your home one day. Picture it honestly for a second. A box of china in the closet, kept for 30 years because it seemed like the right thing to hold on to, and nobody has ever actually said out loud whether they want it. That's how most of this happens, quietly, over decades, with nobody ever having the conversation. Here's something worth asking honestly. Have you actually told that person you're holding on to it for them? Or have you just decided that for them, quietly, on your own? So often we carry the weight of preserving something for someone who hasn't actually asked us to and never will. If there's a specific person and they want it, tell them now. Let them enjoy it while you're both here to talk about it. If there isn't a specific person, you're free to make a different choice, and that's not a betrayal of anyone. Related to that, furniture you inherited from a parent that you never actually chose for yourself. It came into your home because it needed somewhere to go, not because it fit your life or your taste. And so it sat there for years, maybe decades, taking up a corner of your bedroom, carrying a kind of obligation nobody ever said out loud. You're allowed to love your parent and still not want their dresser in your room. Those are two completely separate things, and you don't have to sacrifice one to honor the other. Then, the box of just in case. Not just in case you need a specific tool or item, but the deeper version of it, the fear that if you let something go, you'll regret it later, and there won't be a way to fix that regret. I won't tell you that fear is unfounded, because every once in a while, someone really does need the thing they let go of. That happens. But for most of what's actually sitting in that box, it's been years, and the version of the emergency you're picturing hasn't shown up yet. This isn't about getting rid of everything that might ever be useful. It's about being honest with yourself about which items in there you're keeping out of real likelihood and which ones you're keeping out of fear alone. Everything we've talked about until now could probably leave your bedroom tomorrow. This last one is different. And now, the 12th thing, and I saved it for last on purpose, because it's not like the others. The deeply sentimental item that isn't clutter at all. A photograph, a piece of jewelry, something that holds an entire memory inside it. I want to be honest with you here. Not everything needs a rule. Not everything needs to be justified, or sorted, or questioned. Some things you keep simply because they matter to you, and that is enough of a reason on its own. If you're sitting there feeling like this is a lot, here's where I'd actually start. Not with the sentimental stuff, not yet. Start with the nightstand drawer we talked about first. It's small, it's low stakes, and finishing just that one thing tends to make the harder ones feel more possible, not less. You don't have to do this all in one weekend, and honestly, you probably shouldn't try to. A little at a time, in the order we just went through, is how this actually sticks. So that's all 12. Some of them were easy, some of them probably brought something up you weren't expecting when you sat down to watch this. That's all right. This isn't about getting it all done today. It's about starting to see your space, and honestly, your life, a little more clearly. None of this happens overnight, and you'll probably find yourself circling back to a few of these more than once, and that's completely normal too. Before you go, scroll down and tell us which one of these you're not ready to let go of yet. No judgment here, we just want to hear it. And remember, a peaceful bedroom isn't the one with the fewest things. It's the one where everything that's left still has a purpose in the life you're living today. Because the goal was never to own less. It was always to make more room for the life you're living now.